the Italian Football Podcast.
We have to talk about Como, Nima. They are maybe the story of the Serie A summer transfer market. The whole Como project is really a fascinating one. They were promoted from Serie B last season. This will be their first time in Serie A since the 2002-2003 season, when they were relegated with one of the worst ever performances in Serie A. They won 4 matches and they then completely fell apart. The club did. Relegation after relegation. They went all the way down to Serie D. They went bankrupt twice. But then in 2019, they were bought by the Indonesian tobacco giants Djarum Group, who are it makes Como the wealthiest club, the richest club in Serie A. They're the wealthiest ownership group in Serie A. The Robert, Budi and Michael Hartono brothers, who are the owners of Djarum Group. And together, these brothers boast a combined net worth of $48 billion. It's absolutely insane, the money that they have. And they have big plans for Como. And we're already starting to see the Como project take shape. I mean, they've got some really high-profile figures within Como. Cesc Fabregas is the coach. He's just taken over from Asai Roberts after getting his coaching badges. Roberts has moved to become head of development. They've got some high-profile shareholders, including Thierry Henry. And in the transfer market, they're really making a big splash. They've already made some notable signings. Andrea Belotti, Andrea Dossena, Pepe Reina, Alberto Moreno. They're going to sign Pau Lopez, the goalkeeper, if he hasn't already. I'm not sure if that's official yet, but they're signing Pau Lopez, the former Roma goalkeeper. And they are, this week, about to sign Raphael Varane on a free transfer, the France World Cup winning legend, former Real Madrid legend and former Manchester United player. They're also they're also in negotiations right now for Arthur Melo on loan from Juventus. They're looking at Anthony Martial. They were linked with Mats Hummels before they went for Varane. So they have some really, really big plans, don't they, Nima?
They certainly do. Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's one of those things where, yeah, cool, little tiny Como get all these big names when they return to the Serie A. But on the other hand, it's a little bit, I'm not too happy about it, because this is exactly what we've spoken about. The smaller teams investing in experienced older players with large salaries instead of giving Italian youth a chance. If they're not going to get a chance at Como, they're sure as hell ain't going to get a chance at Juve, Inter, Milan, Napoli, Roma, and I don't like that. I think this is an aspect of Italian football, and it's not just Como. This has always been the case in Italian football, that when new clubs come up, to the Serie A, they try to bring in 1 or 2 or 3 more experienced players to offer some stability to the project in order to avoid relegation. So for Italian football, this isn't good. Long term, it isn't good, because it's another club that looks away from youth. But for Como, it's fun. For Como fans, it's really, really fun. I mean, they bring in lots of big names to this tiny little beautiful place, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth. If you've ever been lucky to be there, you know what I'm talking about. It's an absolutely stunning place. I mean, I know many of Inter Milan players and stars through the years live in Como.
Well, Lake Como. I mean, George Clooney. I mean, you can go on and on with the number of celebrities and the rich and the famous who go there. I mean, it's a beautiful location, isn't it? The stadium is just right
by the lake.
Yeah, right by the lake, isn't it?
Yeah, Giuseppe Sinigallia. It was refurbished in 2002. It first opened in 1927. It's right by the lake.
Do you know who built the stadium?
Sorry?
Do you know who built that stadium?
Benito Mussolini. It was built on the request of Benito Mussolini. And it was named after an Italian rower and war hero, Giuseppe Sinigallia, who was a native of Como.
They might not play there, though. What's going on with the stadium? It's a bit unclear at the moment whether they're actually going to play there, isn't it? Because it doesn't meet the capacity.
It doesn't meet the minimum capacity requirements set up by the Serie A. and so there's work required in order to upgrade and play there. It's because that's what I said. It's a very old stadium. It's 1927. The current capacity is 13,602.
Is it good? I mean, you've said there about the youth there, and you're right. Having said that, though, when you've got $48 billion dollars among your ownership group, then it doesn't surprise you that you're going to try and go for instant success, really. But then maybe, I guess time will tell. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe they should be looking also to build more from the bottom in terms of younger players. And I know Cesc Fabregas has talked about that and said that there is a plan to create the infrastructure. But it doesn't seem like that based on their signings so far this summer. They're going
I'm looking at the squad now. They've signed Belotti. He's not exactly a teenager. Cutrone is 26 now, but he's, if he counts at you as youth, that's part of the problem.
Pepe Reina's 41.
Yeah. Simone Verdi, who's had a very weird career. They've got, what's his name? Daniele Basselli. I think they just bought Alberto Dossena. I mean, it's like it reads like a 30+ all-stars of Serie A of the last 10 years, and it's like, I get again why they're doing it, but this is what we keep saying: if youth can't even get a chance at a place like Como, then what are we doing here? It's
yeah. But is it good for Serie A? It's not good maybe for the Italy national team, that's for sure. But is it good for the Serie A to have a new club with all this money that can go out and we'll see what how ambitious. We'll see whether in a year or 2 years time whether they are challenging Juventus, Milan, and Inter for when it comes to the transfer market to because they can certainly afford it.
But I just don't see that happening. I think it'll at most be 2-3 seasons of a flash in the pan, and it's a nice acquaintance. But when there's not very many people living in Como, and they don't exactly have a huge fan base, so no, look, for me, it's. When I think of Cuomo, I think of Stefano Borganovo and Don Corneliusson and the Milan Claudio Borg, the Brazilian Milan striker who played for Milan as well, and
Argentine, yeah.
Argentine, yeah. I mean, I look at those guys, I think of them, and it's like that iconic era they had back then, and
in the 80s, yeah. Terceiro was my guy, the Brazilian. Yeah, he was amazing.
And of course Stefano Borgonovo, the sad story of him and how he passed away. And no, so it is a club with history. It's a club with pedigree and some interesting, but I'm happy they're back. Because it's nice to have these, it gets boring if you have the same clubs over and over, just coming up and going down. You want that kind of freshness because there's such a depth of historical clubs and piazza in Italy that it's nice for them to show off at the biggest Italian football stage. But there is, look, it's I think it's a very attractive place to come to live to. Because of
very expensive.
Well, it's the most luxurious, one of the most exclusive places in all of Europe. Property there is very expensive, but it's a beautiful place to live. It's very calm. I genuinely can't recommend enough visiting it if you go there. It is absolutely, the place is tiny. It's got this kind of like village feel to it. Very calm, very clean, very beautiful, and just a nice all round nice vibe around it. There's lots of things. It's right close to the Alps.
Do you imagine if Como got into Europe and then they started playing I don't know, Chelsea or something? The fans the fans will flock over to Como, smash up the place.
No, they'd move that to the San Siro. There's no way they play them there.
Could you imagine?
There's no way they would allow that. There's no way they'd allow. They'd go to the San Siro. They just rent the San Siro.
The
Just like
lake all
Bologna
gets
did.
polluted, and like,
You just want English football hooligans to trash up places and
I'm
throw
just
chairs.
picturing it, you know. Well, it's not just the English. I mean, they're the worst. But I mean, the Dutch. I mean, like Feyenoord. I mean, imagine Feyenoord, Como. I mean, they smashed up Rome. Let's smash up.
No, I don't see it. I'd see UEFA putting a stop to that before we even gets that far. But no, it's a fun club, and it's going to be interesting to see what Fàbregas now that he's the head coach taking over from O'Shan Roberts, who's now becoming head of development, I think.
That's right. Yeah, and he's got a great history at that. And Fabregas is. I am interested to see Fabregas. He's very as a pundit. He's fantastic. He's very intelligent. His thinking, the way he thinks about the game, but that doesn't always translate as a manager. It's very different. You know, being knowledgeable and having a good understanding and conceptually being good, you've got to be able to get your ideas across. And there's lots more to managing than just ideas. So it is interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how Fabregas does. In the first game of the season for Como is against Juventus.
Away, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, it's against Thiago Motta's Juventus, and obviously Fabregas, Motta, they played against each other in Euro 2012 final. So that's a great storyline to start the
No,
season.
it's a beautiful storyline, and it's a tiny little club. I have a friend who we've interviewed who is from Como. He used to play for Como's youth team as a goalkeeper, Francesco Fontana, who's now Bordo Campo giornalista at the Zone for Serie A. So he was very, very happy and excited to see his Como go back up to the Serie A. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it certainly is.